Folks, are you tired of people telling you your band is too darn loud when you're just trying to practice in your house or garage? Well, if you live in Austin, I have the solution for you. That's Space Rehearsal and Recording. Space is a state-of-the-art affordable venue for rehearsal and recording, located just a few short miles south of downtown Austin. They have 31 spacious rooms, great PAs, fantastic courteous staff. They have everything you need to get your artistic business together at Space. Find them at 512-448-9518 or go to spaceatx.com and start playing as loud as you want in Space Rehearsal and Recording. Let's get down. Hey gang, let's face it, you're probably listening to this show and all of your other shows on your phone. Are you tired of filling up your phone with all of your favorite podcasts? Well, try Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is an app that allows you to stream thousands of shows right to your smartphone or pad. Download it for free at Stitcher.com or find it in your app store. Get the best in comedy, entertainment, science, sports, news, everything you want right there on Stitcher. Just go to Stitcher.com or find the app in your app store. I use Stitcher Smart Radio and I love it. That's Stitcher Smart Radio. Smarter way to listen to radio. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week. It's been a crazy week over here. I know that this Omicron variant is freaking people out, starting to get some legs, start spreading fast. So I hope that you are safe. I hope that you are healthy. I hope that you are free from the anxiety of not being healthy and safe. Because with these resurgences, man, you know, it's bad if you get it, but also there is that thing that happens, that anxiety of like, oh no, now what's going to happen? Or we have this big New Year's Eve gig we booked. What's going to happen now? You know, all kinds of, am I going to be able to see my family at Christmas? Shit, do I have it? People are starting to get tested all the time again. It's getting freaky again. So I wish you sanity and I wish you health, mental health and physical health. All right. That's what I hope is going on with you. It's been a crazy week. As I said, Skyrocket played Tuesday, this very odd, I'm still not quite sure what it was. It was a corporate team building pickleball tournament is what it was. But it was set up so weird. It was at this place in Houston. And the people at this place were really nice. They were very, very lovely people. But the setup of the event was really odd. There was like in the front of the place, like it was a long... So it was one of those places in the Heights in Houston, if you know that. It's a bar, that a big, giant old house. Now it's a bar, you know, from like, you know, the 40s or whatever. Anyway, they had a pickleball tournament set up in the front of the place. They had a DJ out there. They were making announcements out there. They had tables set up out there for everyone. Everyone was eating out there. And then they had us in the very back of the place. So nobody really knew we were playing. But every once in a while, someone would poke their head out and be like, hey, there's a band. Hey, guys, come out here. Look, there's this band out here playing. They come out and watch a song or two and go back in. But yeah, it was an odd gig. It was one of those weird corporate gigs that, you know, you're getting paid, but no one's seeing you. What a weird job I have, you know. Sometimes you're flying in a private jet to the Bahamas to play someone's wedding in this fancy-ass thing, and it's super awesome and crazy. Sometimes you're just in the backyard on probably the most humid sort of like summer day in the middle of December you can imagine in the Heights in Houston. But you know what? It's show business, baby. It's always weird. It's always kind of the same, but it's always real different. And that's what I enjoy about it. I do. I enjoy it. You know, Rosie and I went down a day early and stayed with my aunt and uncle, Chuck and Christina, in Conroe. Had a great time, man. I don't really get a lot of time with just them. And it was great. It was us and my grandma's dog and my aunt's dog, Rosie. She had a great time. She hung out with them while I went and played my gig. And she's such a good dog, man. We have such a good time together. I love traveling with her. She's a great travel companion. She's a great friend, you know. Hey, gang, I want to make a quick announcement, a quick plug. If you're not doing anything tonight, Friday, December 17th, if you live in San Antonio, Skyrocket will be playing at Sam's Burger Joint tonight. Last kind of show of the year before New Year's Eve. Now, I know I just said all this stuff about Omicron variant, and I'm like, oh, come on out to the show. But you know what? Hey, we're still playing shows. I don't know what to do. Nobody really knows what to do. It's a weird time. So if you feel safe about it, come on out to the show. If you're not sick, if you don't feel sick, come on out. Wear a mask if it makes you feel comfortable. Makes me feel comfortable if you're wearing a mask. Oh, yeah, baby. The weekend. Gang, I have a great show for you today. Chris Didier and Heath McIntosh from the band White Label Analog are here. They have a new single out. It's called Feelin' It. It was produced by the great Matt Parmenter, who's been on the show a couple of times, over at his studio, the Ice Cream Factory. They recorded it back in April, and it's available now wherever it is you stream and download your jams. It's a great song, man. It's kind of like it's like a rock song with great synthesizers, great melody, a great song. It was great catching up with Chris and Heath. Chris was the drummer of 50 Mission Crush. Back in the early 2000s, late 90s. Heath McIntosh has played drums in a shitload of bands, owned a bunch of clubs, namely the legendary Red Eyed Fly on Red River. Miss that place. Everybody does, man. Anyway, we have a great conversation about their band, this White Label Analog band that they started back in 2013. They have a full-length record out in case you just tuned in, available wherever you stream and download your jams too. But they're back at work, man. They're making new music. They're putting it out. Think they're going to be playing some shows, hopefully, if that all clears up. But I have a great conversation with them. It's great catching up with old friends. You're like old war guys from hey, remember back in that thing when that guy was playing at that place? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that on there. Great conversation. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Chris Didier and Heath McIntosh from White Label Analog. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. You might want to move that mic a little closer to you.
Just
Yeah.
get it up a little bit. How's that?
Let's get it. Yeah, that's good.
All right, cool.
That's really good. Yeah. You guys have been doing great stuff. And this Feeling It, when it comes on, almost sounds like a New Order song.
Oh,
That's,
yeah,
you know what I'm
definitely
saying?
got some
Kind of
80s throwback for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Definitely, there's
Somewhat
some
Or not New Order,
kitschy-
sorry, Joy Division is what
Joy
it sounds
Division,
like.
okay.
Similar, same
before the drum
genre.
machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A little bit of 80s vibe going on. for
Yeah.
Sure.
It's funny because there was something I was listening to the other day, some 80s guys talking about that era, and it seems like we're coming out of this dark era with people. There was like this thing like going into 2020 after like 2016 to 2020 before the pandemic hit us. People were like purging their souls. And then the pandemic came, and the whole summer of 2020 was like so heavy.
No.
That, like, it seems like the songs that are coming out now, at least people coming through here, they're like, hey, man, there's good stuff too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That was kind of our intent, definitely, as well, was to do something that's more upbeat and just kind of fun and energetic. And a lot of the new material that we wrote was actually along those lines. Is just because exactly we knew everybody was struggling through the same stuff that we were, and being locked in their house and doing a whole lot of nothing. And so all about just trying to put some good vibes out there again.
Yeah. Were you guys able to? When did you record this song?
April?
Yeah,
That
April.
sounds right. Yeah, that sounds
With
right.
Matt at Ice Cream Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great, man.
He's super
yeah,
great.
just a super cool guy, nice guy.
That place is really nice too.
It is. He's got so much gear in there. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, you want vintage gear, guitars, take your pick.
Is
You
he
know,
still
like, it's-
partners with McPherson?
Yeah, Casey's actually the one that hooked me up with
Really?
Matt. Yeah, because I'd reached out to him about something. I can't remember what it was, and Casey was like, "Hey, go hit up Matt and let him know I sent you." And so, as far as I know, he's got something still to do there.
Yeah.
Matt and I talked about it a little bit, but I don't even remember now.
He had like a real silent partner trip in it.
He does have
Yeah.
he's
Which is
got
cool.
he's got a money guy,
Yeah.
you know, to where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I believe in what you're doing here, and gonna help sort of fund and finance some things here and there. And so when he gets new gear, or
Yeah.
they've been talking about a move for a little while as well to a larger space and something a little bit, I guess, more professional, possibly.
Right.
Not that I don't think it's professional right now, but I think that that's what they're looking towards, is making it more of an established sort of, kind of studio for people to do.
He turns out great, and your song is great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an iterative process. You know, we kind of just left him alone to do the mixing, and we said, okay, do your thing, and then we'll go from there. And so we just kind of gave him the creative freedom to just, mix it as he saw fit, and then we just kind of whittled it down from there iteratively, and
Right.
to get to what it ended up being. So
Yeah. So did you record more songs with him that you're going to release?
we did.
Oh.
Yeah, we did 5 songs, I think.
Whoa.
I think that's right. I
Yeah.
think 5 songs.
So is there an EP coming?
Yeah, basically we're just doing single releases that will build to an EP, basically.
Yeah,
So it's just kind of easier on our budget than tackling everything at once, being independent and whatnot. So it just kind of makes more sense to, all right, let's focus on this song, and let's make it all about this song for now. Then let's focus on this one, etc. And we actually had one previous song that we had to shelf just due to the pandemic and
Timing
how things were.
wasn't right.
It was just, the timing was bad. So
Right.
we actually have another song that's, fully done. It's got a video and everything, so it's all ready to go, but it probably won't come out until, I don't know, maybe March
Spring.
of next year. Yeah, March, April.
And we do have a couple. We have we do have one that's done. It's mixed and
Right.
mastered.
Yeah.
That we're maybe looking at the first quarter
Okay.
to release that one. That one we recorded with Matt, but it was mixed by a guy named Carl Bonner.
Okay. Who's that guy?
He is a guy from the Northeast that I've basically found on Sound Better, and he had worked with like St. Lucia and the Wombats, I think, and some folks like that. And I really liked,
Or St. Vincent.
sorry,
St.
St. Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, and so just liked what he was doing and reached out to him, and he was really cool. And we just kind of went from there, hit it off, texting back and forth, and ended up mixing with him.
What thing of you guys did Dwight do? Dwight Baker.
Dwight did 3 songs on the full length.
Crap, I know.
Trying to remember which
we used
ones
so many
he
different
did.
mixers
Well, okay.
on
Yeah,
that
we
record.
used-
Oh, so
We
he
used
did
Dwight,
mixing.
He did 3 songs.
Okay.
Almost every mixer got 3
Yeah.
songs, basically.
Chris
Okay.
Frenchie
We were-
Smith did.
Oh, yeah?
3.
Yeah. Dwight did 3.
Mark Needham mixed.
Yeah, I
some
saw that,
of them
yeah,
as
from
well.
Killers.
And
then
Mark DeFore.
DeFore.
Mark DeFore.
Oh, yeah.
did some too. So, yeah.
Frenchie texted me last night. I don't know if it's wrong, bro. What was it? Oh, but Hanging Tough by New Kids on the Block is fucking badass.
It's crazy some of the stuff that you enjoy the more that you're kind of around. Because I was never a boy band or even much of a pop fan in some aspects. All those songs are stuck in my head
Right.
from hearing them on the
Oh, yeah.
radio, and I know the words no matter
Earworms
what.
to the max,
But it's kind of funny just because I feel like over the past several years we've kind of adopted more of an influx and appreciation for all of the better
Right.
pop elements like a Dua Lipa or The Weeknd or
Right.
whatever just similar along the lines of like old school boy band. It's like
Yeah.
okay, like we just played with
Oh yeah, we did the Pop 2K tour. We opened up for was it LFO, Ryan Cabrera?
it was Lance Bass was
hosted
the
by
host.
Lance Bass and who else?
think
LFO,
of-
Ryan. O-Town.
O-Town.
Yeah.
So it was like
I know,
a boy
like,
band thing. Yeah.
If you had asked me that 5-10 years ago,
Right,
I
right.
never believed you
Right,
would be
right.
playing a show like that. But yeah, it was fun.
It's weird because music has lost, like, the walls are gone. And,
Yeah.
like when we were kids, like, whatever maybe some of our parents' music, but we wanted to get away from something. And then we had our style of music, if you
Exactly.
if you wore like a denim jacket with metal band patches on it, you weren't gonna play anyone Hall and Oates.
Right.
Don't be a sellout.
Yeah, exactly. But now music just kind of has this thing where like kids now, it's just music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no, it's weird.
It's multi-genre.
No, exactly.
You know, it's kind of a melting pot of, it's just, you know, I think some of that is attributed to parents turning their kids onto cool music that their parents listen
Right.
to, and kids being open-minded. I think kids nowadays are a lot more open-minded, and they're programmed a little bit differently because the things they've been exposed to as kids, compared to, I mean, I want to say, you know, 80s, 90s kids were pretty free, and you know, we ride bikes without helmets and do, you know, dangerous stuff, and you know, what was a different time, but yeah, I think kids now are a lot more open-minded, like in every aspect. I mean, you know, in terms of just culturally, and music and everything. So, and I think that transcends into what kids listen to these days and younger folks. So, it's kind of nice because for us, like we never wanted to. So, part of the premise of Heath and I starting this band in the first place was to do something fun. If we didn't enjoy it, we weren't going to do it. And then the other thing was we wanted to make really fun music that was, you know, catchy, made danceable, just something that was a good time. And so we really didn't want to pigeonhole, because we come kind of from hard rock backgrounds and stuff like that. And so we really wanted, that was the whole idea behind this band, is do something that neither of us had never done before. And so that was really the basis for starting the whole thing.
You want anything to add to that?
I was just
Heath?
going to say, touching back on sort of the youth and whatnot. I mean, it's been cool how all the festival circuit and all the that kind of stuff has embraced a lot of the, you know, to where you're getting the throwback bands that are coming and playing, you know, ACL Fest or whatever. You know, so I think that has really helped a lot of sort of the genre splicing as well, to where, you know, parents and their kids are going to ACL or whatever to, you know, go check out, you know, David Bowie, but at the same time check out, you know, 21 Pilots or whatever.
Right.
And then bands like that, even, you know, 21 Pilots, that are just, you know, smash the walls of, you know, hey, we're gonna do whatever we want to do. We just like to make music, or, you know, and so we're gonna do this song that sounds like this, and we're gonna do this song that sounds like this. It still all sounds like them, though.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because like I have some friends that hate on ACL, and I'm just like, man, every time my wife and we go every year, and there's tons of music that bands I've either heard before and wanted to see, or bands I'd never heard before, or old school bands that I never got to see.
Right.
There's always good stuff to see at that event, you know, and so it's just amazing to me, and it's super fun. We have a blast.
Yeah.
So I'd love to play it sometime, but you know.
Do you go as a? Do you go like? Do you go in the regular world, or do you do the back? You do the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I'm just a regular old dude. I go in there with the crowd, and it's super fun. You know, we map out our schedule, just you know, you get the app and just bounce from, and we literally camp out there. I mean, sometimes we don't make it there till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Right. You know, it depends, but we try to catch as much as we can. You know, tickets aren't cheap, so you might as well get the value in it.
You have kids, right?
I do. I'm married into kids. I have 2.
You're married to
two
kids?
step-kids.
Okay,
Well,
you
I'm
have 2 step into kids. Okay,
Yes.
okay. I was like,
I married children.
You came
I have
to the
a
wrong
son
podcast,
and a
Chris.
daughter. They're, you know, and my wife and I are kind of empty nesters, so they're super fun. You know, they go on trips with us, and we have a blast. So, yeah.
That's cool. Great. So it's you and your wife, and you guys you go to the ACL.
We do.
I think
we
that's
do.
awesome.
And now our kids are starting to go because they appreciate. They've, you know, finally, like, they never, I guess, wanted to spend the money or whatever. And we would tell them every year, you guys would love this, and now they're going and they're having a blast.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know what's funny is that, like, we'd like to play it sometime, and I'm always like, I don't know how you play it, but then we know all these people that do the thing. Yeah. But it's pretty weird to be like, hey man. Hey man, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's always.
I think typically the you know, when I see local artists, you know, unless they're like a really well-known, you know, somebody like Black Pumas or something, like it's becoming a very established nationally a very established artist. But typically the bands that get like, the up and comers are playing pretty early. So you have to get there early, to see those guys. And
Right.
it's hot as hell, but we still try to make it out.
There were some guys that first Friday, like friends of mine, like 3 friends of mine that got canceled.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
they started
They
later.
started later,
Yeah,
yeah, 'cause of the rain.
Yeah, because of the rain. Yeah, I was bumming out for that. Was Darkbird? That was one of them, right?
I think so.
Darkbird was
And
supposed to play.
Primo
Okay.
and Nane.
Okay.
I know, Rosie. Rosie, don't be a terrorist, an emotional terrorist. So you guys both come from hard rock backgrounds. Heath, I was just thinking about this. Were you were there that New Year's I played with Endosheen at Red Eye Fly?
Oh yeah, I'm sure I was. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I'm
Yeah,
sure I was.
exactly.
There in spirit.
That was in like the heyday of Indochine, like the
Yeah.
those guys like I'd have to describe it to a T.
Right.
Like,
I wasn't sure how far back you were going. I thought you might have said Lucy's because I was like, wait a minute.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. 'Cause 50 Mission Crush played a lot of shows with
that's the
Indochine.
band that you were in.
Yeah, I played drums. So I was a drummer before becoming a lead vocalist, and so I was a singing drummer. But yeah, that's why Heath and I had never like done any project together because we were both drummers, and I met him when he was in Soak and I was in
Right.
50 Mission Crush, and we hit it off. Those two bands did lots of shows together and had a lot of fun. But yeah, like once I stepped out from the mic, and actually I did a gig with you. I don't know if you remember, but
Yeah.
I had a band called Deejer for a while. It's Deejer.
Yeah.
And we did a show at Momo's one
Okay.
night. And it was a long time ago, it was back in the Momo's days, but it was really fun gig. But yeah, and then it seems like we would always bump into you at AMF events and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
But I remember bumping into you at South by Southwest when you first started the podcast, and I thought, man, what a cool idea. And then you kept doing it. I was like, I thought to myself, God, one day I'd love to be on this podcast, and here we are. So pretty
Like,
cool.
and this
Full
is
circle.
it.
Full circle.
And I gave you a T-shirt.
Yeah, I was trying to remember on the way over here. We actually played together when I was playing with Casey at Antone's once, I think.
Oh yeah, because he played in Alpha Rev for a little while.
That's right. Yeah, we had a whole show together with with Joseph's band, Canvas.
Oh yeah.
Was that it? And like the Real Heroes. And Alpha. I remember
you're testing
putting
my
a
memory.
show-
I
You
was
have a
saying-
good memory, man.
Yeah.
That's like you.
I'm like, I
you
definitely
have some
remember
brain cells
playing
left. I don't know how
Yeah.
many I have left.
right?
Well, I made it
And
pretty.
I almost feel like you even got on stage and played with us.
I might have. I might have
for a
even just
song or
invited
two.
myself.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. Man, that was Endoshine's the craziest band I was ever in.
Oh,
like I
without a
remember
doubt.
like
I'm sure.
I was in the process of
almost
like
guessed.
getting a divorce, and I was in Indochine like on the road with them.
Right.
And so I was like, I got to get on the road, and then I'd be on the road, but like with them at that time, like they're all a lot more settled down. But
Yeah.
I remember.
dude, it was insane.
I'm sure.
It was those guys were insane.
Yeah.
The drummer went to jail one time in Washington D.C.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh wow.
I got together with Trevor, who was their manager recently. He
Oh,
runs
yeah.
like this nature preserve that's super
wow.
awesome.
Really?
That's
I
cool.
remember Trevor. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember him sending a text that said, "It's all fun and games till the drummer goes to jail."
right.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so here's what's cool is I didn't know the origin of your name, but I've always been a huge fan of those stories of like when the Bee Gees first came out, they sent the white label to the thing because it came from the Beatles management. So like
Yeah.
maybe this is the Beatles' new song, maybe it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they did that with that band Klaatu in the 70s too.
Okay.
They did it with the Beatles a lot. Like,
Yeah.
is this a new Beatles song? But you're talking more about like in dance clubs.
Well,
Or-
so it was
no,
actually Heath came up with the name. To be honest with you, I didn't even like it at first.
I like it a lot.
I was the only one that didn't
Right.
like it, but I came around.
It just stemmed from. I mean, I learned about it when I was on Interscope with Soak, and we released one of our singles, "Me Compassionate," on vinyl. And they did, and they told us, "Oh, okay, we're going to do a white label pressing of this to send it out." And it had that version on one side, and then like a bunch of remixes like on the other side, done by high profile guys that were around at that time or whatever. And then they were going to just send it out. And then when I kind of researched it and realized what it was, what they meant by white label, it was just a term that they used for just generic, hey, it's a no frills thing just to give out to disc jockeys
Right.
back in the day and et cetera. So when the band came to be and we were looking for a name, I just always thought it was cool, white label pressings, and doing
Yeah.
that and, throwback to the vinyl days and to all of that kind of stuff. So I just thought it kind of had a cool tonality to it and thought it was something cool to kind of play off of being a band and also, being able to tie that together for people that, weren't familiar with the concept.
Right. What was the name of the singer guy from Soak? Why am I-
Jason Dimitri.
Jason Dimitri.
Yeah.
And his wife was
Stacy.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. She booked my band for a little while.
Yeah, she had
Yeah,
a
she was
booking
a
company
booking-
with
Yeah.
her friend Missy for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
They booked 50 Mission for a while too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you guys were on Interscope, who did that record? Who produced it?
Ben Gross produced that record, and I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he produced, mixed. He did everything on that. I can't even remember. Oh, we had Bob Ludwig master. That's right.
Oh wow.
Wasn't Dufour an assistant engineer? too?
Dufour was actually an assistant.
Oh, really?
Because we had recorded our the EP that we had recorded that helped get us signed.
Right.
Dufour had actually recorded that over at the old Krebs location,
Oh, yeah.
Music Lab, and so when it came time to go and record, we were like, well, we want to take you along. You kind of just to, showing our brotherhood and
Yeah,
et
yeah.
cetera. So we came along and made him a second, just an engineer rather. So he spent a lot of time in a ISO booth for the most part, chopping stuff up and splicing some tape and
Back in
doing
the
some
tape days.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and
2-inch tape.
doing some digital embellishments and whatnot. But yeah, it was definitely cool times, fun record.
Who was a bass player guy went on to play with somebody too, right?
That's John. Yeah,
John.
he plays with Disturbed
Moyer.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always really nice too. You guys were a
Yeah.
really nice band. I remember hanging out and talking to Jason like a lot at Music Lab. Because you
Okay.
guys had a place on Old Tour for a while, right?
Yeah, we had a lockout there
Yeah.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
Did
you too?
Forever.
Did
Yeah.
yeah there, and then eventually at St. Elmo as well.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I mean, practiced at those, for forever.
Where do you guys practice now?
I converted a bedroom into a rehearsal space.
Oh,
And
cool.
So yeah, I did the double 3/4 inch sheetrock with green glue and the whole 9 yards. And it's not really, it's not super huge or anything, but it serves a purpose. It's really good. And I've got my DAW set up in there, and I got an iMac and run Logic, and that's a lot of how we do like our pre-production stuff. Iteratively, we'll swap Logic files, project files back and forth in Logic, and until we'll get each song to a point where we're really happy with it, and of course our management's involved in that process too.
Who's your management?
They're called New Age Media Management. A guy named Adam and Yeager with New Age Media Management, and we've been with them the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's probably coming up on 2 years.
Yeah, something like that.
There's not a lot of management anymore. As much as there's way more like publicists than there are like managers.
Yeah,
Everything's become so.
it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think
No,
about
I
it,
know.
like the
Yeah.
revenue streams
15
are,
or 20%.
They all dry
you got to be
up,
pretty.
yeah.
You have
can't
to
do that
be really
anymore, yeah.
diverse. You have to
Yeah.
be extremely diverse.
It's all
Yeah.
boutique
days.
shopping now. Yeah, exactly.
Where are they based?
So they have a New York office, but I want to say their Yeager lives in Dallas and Adam lives in Connecticut. Is that right? I think something
Nah, I
like
don't
that.
know.
I think something.
I thought they both lived on the East Coast, but Yeager.
No,
used
Yeager
to
just
live.
would just move
Oh,
to
did he just move?
to
Okay.
Dallas.
I thought he used to
so-
live in Texas, and then
He did. He lived in Texas, then he moved up north, and then he moved back.
Okay.
Yeah, so
so a little bit
something
of
like
Texas.
that. But yeah, we just those guys kind of stumbled upon us, and
Yeah.
and we, they're really into artist development, and labels don't do that anymore and
No.
stuff, and Heath and I have done so much of that in our careers
Yeah.
that having that kind of third eye or that,
Yeah.
that vantage point is good.
Right.
An
That
outside
feedback
vantage point,
soundboard.
feedback soundboard, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now it's gotten so democratized. People can do stuff without a producer. People can do
Oh, yeah.
stuff without a label. You can just everyone's on the same playing field.
yeah.
But it
Just
That's
depends on how
also
deep
the
your
curse,
wallet
though.
is.
It's the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it is.
Back in the
It
day,
is.
like, you had to get a deal, go through some artist development, work with your A&R guy, work with maybe songwriters, producers, or whatever, and you were developed.
Yeah.
And then now everything's pretty much turnkey, right? They want a product that's ready to go, and you've got to have numbers, some analytics behind it, and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's
and back then you were competing with maybe 100,000 bands or whatever
Yeah.
that were on different labels.
Now there's 5
Now there's
gazillion.
5 million
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
20 million or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or more than that, easily.
That's
100
the
million.
struggle,
Yeah,
though. Is
exactly.
It's easier to do yourself, but it's a lot harder to stand out. You
Yeah.
know, you're and it really, I mean, everybody knows the first thing you have to do is you have to start with good music, right? That's got to be the center point, the centerpiece.
Yeah.
Because gimmicks only
It's-
go so
Last so
far,
long,
you know.
yeah.
Man,
So-
I'll tell you. I will tell you. Doing consultations and stuff with Austin Music Foundation, and kind of seeing where people are at nowadays as they're coming up. It's with a lot of people, like, music is the last thing. There were these people that had a publicist that they hired and someone to get their social media numbers up, and I couldn't find their music anywhere. And so when they got to the meeting, I was like, man, I'm really sorry, but I looked everywhere, I couldn't find any music. They're like, we don't have any music out. Like, you've got like 8,000 followers. Oh yeah. Well, what do they like? Oh, they like us. I'm like, no, they don't. They don't like anything.
I don't
You haven't put out music. You hired.
I do
you
not
paid someone
understand that.
thousands of dollars to publicize
Wow.
something you haven't
It doesn't
spent
even exist. Yeah.
thousands of dollars on. Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with
That
you?
makes me question their numbers. It's either that or they just have a crap ton of friends.
right? But they got someone to up
Service or
their
something
numbers.
to
But I
up
see
them.
that here too. Like doing the podcast, like you see, like someone has 10,000 followers or whatever, and 2 likes on everything, and you're like, all right, dude, I don't,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is what they don't realize, folks that do that stuff, that shortcut like that, it's, the industry, folks in the industry, like even you or anybody can kind of
through
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
figure it out. So,
Oh, really easily.
it's
Yeah.
like,
What are your live shows like? How many people are showing up to that?
Yeah,
right.
Real
Exactly.
quick.
yeah.
What are your live shows like now? Because I was wondering if, like, since you put out Feeling It, are you is there anything different? Is there tracks involved? Do you guys?
we do.
You
So
do?
we used to have a keyboardist.
Okay.
We went
After
through 2 or 3.
yeah,
actually.
2 or 3, and the last one for a little bit longer than the others, but it just became simpler and more efficient and a better direction for us to just rely on the bells and whistles and the fun stuff and the keyboard parts to be tracked. And so there's still very much a live aspect to
Right.
what we do,
Right.
but those bells and whistles that we can't do physically ourselves
Right.
are served better by that, using that, platform to do that. So that's what we do. He's got a Mac on. It's
Yeah,
got a little,
I like it. I prefer it. I mean, after having, I play to a click every
You
show.
do?
So it's everything's
Yeah.
tracked.
Our
everything's to
tempos
click.
are money, baby.
We're gonna sound like the album as much as possible, or sound like
Right.
the track that you've heard as much as possible. And that was kind of we didn't want to lose all of the studio magic when it came to live, because you get in the studio and then you start creating and doing all these fun things and whatnot, and then you have no way to pull them off live. When it's like, oh, okay, let me grab this pedal and I'm gonna play out this drum pattern on this and make this little bell sound.
Yeah.
Well, we can't do that live, or whatever. So
Right,
things like that. So it just kind of became easier, and like Chris said, we went through a few different keyboard players and whatnot, and we wanted some other just different bells and whistles. Like I said, just all that studio magic, and so it's kind of fun to know that we can emulate what you hear, and we can still have some fun as well, and throw on some different intros and segues and this and that. We just got to kind of map it out a little bit in advance, so it's not quite as free form as obviously a band that's not tied to a click track,
Right.
But
it's pop music. And
exactly,
it's-
Yeah.
I think it serves its purpose well, and like I said, I prefer it. I mean, it's great just because I know that I never have to worry about me being off.
Right,
and everybody else has to follow me. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, don't go off and
Yeah.
do your own thing because
Pay attention
I'm
to
not
the
gonna
bus
follow
driver.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Man, I got a question for you. When you learn how to play and you find a pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
You learn how to swing, but then you learn how to play to a click. I've seen drummers throughout my whole thing, like when we go to the studio, then all of a sudden there's no pocket anymore. They're so
Stiff,
involved
so
with
stiff.
Right.
and I mean, I don't know if you guys remember like the early 90s and late 80s and shit. Like all they had was a cowbell for some reason. Like that's all.
Oh,
they
yeah,
ever did.
yeah.
Clunk, clunk,
Oh
clunk.
God, who's fucking?
The album with Ben
To
Gross.
this day, he still hates that
the
sound.
the Soak album that we recorded with Ben Gross. That was all recorded to click, and it was all.
It was cowbell.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, Mark DeFore cleaned it up a little bit because he had been playing to click before. So he was like, "Here, I'm going to put a tambourine in here
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to help sort of smooth it to
Yeah.
where it's not so bad. Give you some 16th note groove." And I'm like, "Cool." I'm like, now I can kind of
Yeah,
sway
exactly.
and play around,
Yeah.
and now I'm not locked to just trying to sound like a robot. So that's the way I've always done my clicks ever since. And honestly, well, actually, even the way we tracked that album, as an example, the song might be at 122, but then we push the chorus to 124. The bridge goes to, so I'm following the click throughout the tracks or whatever.
Right.
For that album, we don't do that.
So it has a little
our
natural
stuff.
push and
but,
pull,
But I definitely know how to play in front of or behind the click.
Right.
And push the song when it needs to push, sit back when it needs to sit back. So it's all, I don't know, pretty comfortable, and I don't know, it gives me another level of confidence just that
Right.
I'm going to be on, I guess is
Yeah.
the best way to put it, to where even if I can't have a bad night, I guess basically, because if I do, then the song's going to turn into a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think any band that's worth their grain of salt or whatever, whatever the saying is, you still, if you're rehearsed enough and you're comfortable and it's kind of your second nature with the music, you're comfortable with kind of playing around a little bit within the confines of a click track anyway. So there's still a little bit of room for kind of some spontaneity. You know what I mean? If you're rehearsed and you're not having to focus on, the click or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'll still do impromptu fills and stuff like that, even
Right.
just playing along with the click and just kind of do something that's kind of just for my own entertainment, or maybe I get a little spacey for a second. I'm like, where was I? Oh, stay on the click, and all right, everybody's going to wonder what that was. That was different than they're used to hearing, but
Yeah.
doesn't turn the song into a train wreck. At least.
You guys just played 1-to-1. Was that your first show back, so
First
to speak?
show
Show in a
since
year
our
and
show,
a
the
half.
last show before that was Swan Dive, January of 2020. So it had been well over a year and a half. We did do a couple of shows in New Braunfels at Texas
Right.
Ski Ranch. They were outdoor shows. One of those were that Pop 2K show that Lance Bass hosted. But other than that, we just been kind of writing and recording.
Yeah, once the
and-
pandemic kind of set in, we decided, let's get in the studio and let's just work, and let's not worry about trying to, go and do some live shows. And I know a lot of people were doing all the streaming shows and whatnot. We kind of just steered clear of it and just decided let's just focus on new material and use this to our advantage to get to have some product together.
It didn't take long to get burned out on streaming shows.
Oh, God,
I mean,
dude.
everybody and their
Jesus.
grandmother was doing
Yeah.
streaming shows, just like, oh God, I'm just got invited to another streaming event.
Yeah.
And I get it. Everybody's just trying to
Hustle
keep
and do what they
things
can.
moving,
Yeah.
and obviously there's a huge economic impact on the music community,
Yeah.
but man, I just was like, oh, if I have to see another live stream, I'm going to scream. But yeah, we really didn't like this, live taping we did for CBS for KI. We Are Austin. That was really the first. I mean, it wasn't streamed; it was a live taping.
Right.
I think it's going to air Friday on Fox 7. But that's like the first thing that's even remotely
Real
like
close
that.
like
What
that.
did you guys do it at Ice Cream?
No,
We tried to. Actually, I reached out to Matt a couple times
He
because
was
I thought
booked.
that'd be a cool environment to
Yeah,
set
he
it
was
up at. But we just he just kept getting busy every time.
Yeah,
I would be like, okay, how about here? So,
Actually, there's a non-A thing that they did there. I don't know what
really?
song it is, but they did like a live.
It's a cool room. I mean, it'd be
tape, yeah.
great for that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And obviously, we would have loved to have done.
So
something
where'd
like
you do
that.
it?
We just did it at our
At
rehearsal
our rehearsal
space.
space, yeah, in my house.
You know, we've got
And,
some lights and stuff that we use for our live shows and stuff. So we just kind of tried to gussy it up and make it look like
Here you go.
It wasn't just too boring,
Right.
And had a friend of ours, Chris Goldstein
at ATX Drones.
come in and shoot all the video and everything, and then he did the. I mean, we really literally shot it and recorded it. Did a couple of takes just to make sure that we captured it well,
Right.
Because it's just all front to back live, and picked one take, and then the next day he edited it real quick and then sent it back to him.
Yeah, I did the audio production. Like I literally had just ordered like an overhead mic and a kick drum mic, and because I didn't have those things, and just I have like a Mackie 16 channel board. I ran everything through there, and then went USB 2 track out into Logic Pro on my iMac, and just mixed it on the fly.
Yeah.
And then we did like 4 or 5 takes, and we picked the best take, and that was like the foundation for all the video shots, but it was a little nerve wracking, because I'd never done anything like that. But, they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Right? So you just, where there's a will, there's a way. So we
And
literally
hoping it comes out on TV, okay? Because TV audio is definitely different than
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
compression and, stuff like that. So, I mean, we were sweating it a little bit just because we had a deadline.
Yeah.
And this is like a perfect example of how things can just happen to you. There's always like adversity or obstacles. So we humped it to really get this thing done quickly. Like I think we did it in 2 days.
We recorded on, I think it was due on a Thursday. I think we tracked it on a
Tuesday. It was a rehearsal
Tuesday.
night.
Wednesday was edit to be turned in
It
on
was
Thursday.
production, and then we turned it in on Thursday. So we had it done. We're like, cool, all right, awesome. It's going to air on Music Monday on We Are Austin. We're like, cool. We get there and watch it. And we're watching, and they get to the music segment, and it's some other dude, and we're like, hey, what's going on? What happened?
Why did we get bumped?
Yeah, what happened? Come to find out, they had some kind of technical issue with their
back end.
with their back end is what they
That's
said.
what they said,
I don't know what I don't know what that means.
Basically, they were off the air and running reruns for like
Reruns
4 days.
and so it actually aired this past Monday.
Yeah.
So but we were like, I'm emailing Heather at Juice Consulting. Heather, what happened? We went through a lot of trouble and they didn't play us. Did they not like us? But it wasn't that at all. And actually, Ann, the executive producer of that show, sent a very, very thoughtful letter to us, apologizing and kind of explaining what happened. So it was really cool, that it finally made it to the air because, we did
After all the effort.
hustle.
To hustle
That was a
and get it
hustle
together.
Yeah.
But that's just an
Show
example of like
business,
how
man.
shit happens.
Yeah.
I know in your career you've had lots of things that like you have an expectation of how you think things will go. You have this vision in your head,
Yes.
right? And then when your expectation doesn't meet reality, you're
Yes.
like, what the hell? I worked so hard and then it rained on my outdoor show. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, Pecan Street's ruined, whatever.
Dude, the best thing that ever happened to me was learning to not try
Freak
to
out?
envision
Oh,
Yeah.
what it's going to be like, because everything was like, every gig was like, I was
I
on
just always set
suicide
the-
watch
yeah.
for a while.
I just always
leave
set
the
the bar
bar
really
low.
low.
Yeah, leave the
exactly.
bar low.
I always leave the bar
Yeah.
low. That way, it's like, okay, if anything's better than here,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Once you start getting those expectations up in any kind of situation, it definitely can create a mental flux that you can't recover from sometimes.
But back to the one-to-one show,
Yeah.
or single release, it was really, really fun. We had no idea because people are still a little hesitant,
Yeah.
I think, to come to especially
An indoor
indoor
show.
shows.
Yeah.
But we had a good turnout for for it, and it was a really rowdy, fun crowd. I mean, it was a lot of, and of course there were friends there supporting too, and
Right.
some family, but there were folks that had never seen us before, and the good thing about kind of releasing this single is this is literally our first single in a while.
Wow.
Like 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 20
we've
years
gone
almost.
through some member changes and stuff like that. And that's, that seems to be probably the hardest thing nowadays is keeping a band together. It's just really, really tough. Really hard.
I have the same thing. Do you think it's nowadays or do you think it's our age? Like, no one wants to get in a band and work real hard at a band when they're over 40. Like, I'm not going to get in your fucking band and go to Dallas for $15. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 40.
Is it
you know
that,
what I mean?
or is it maybe that's part of it? But I also think that
I think it's a
I think our
combination.
generation's cut from a little bit different cloth in terms of the work ethic. I think it's just a little bit different. We're used to really
Yes.
struggling
Yes.
and dealing with adversity.
Yeah.
And I think because maybe partly because of social media and stuff like that, there's that instant gratification
Yes.
factor that happens. And when that doesn't transcend into reality for
Right.
folks, that sometimes they get disillusioned and
Right.
either quit or they don't, they move on to the next thing.
Yes.
It's very, very, I don't want to say myopic, but I want to say, I don't know that stick-to-itiveness is
Right.
there.
Right.
Like maybe it was when we were, cutting our teeth in clubs. So
Man, Heath, you were saying earlier, like, this has been a tough thing with clubs closing and shit. Your places, there's no plan B. Me neither, right? So a lot of us, there wasn't everybody wins when we were kids. Like,
No, exactly.
no,
I didn't
Not
end
everybody
up-
got a trophy.
Yeah.
no. And like, I tried to play
If
sports.
anything, the very select few won. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, more people lost back then by all accounts. Yeah.
And I mean,
Which
I-
made
But
you
those
feel-
are valuable life lessons.
valuable life
right?
lessons. Like, I would have never made it through music business.
No,
Or still be going through music business, whatever it is. Like, to me, like, I would have quit a long time ago if
Yeah.
it wasn't that, like, I learned, you just learn how to lose.
Yeah.
And you learn stuff you're not good at. Like, my coaches were all like, dude, why don't you go draw in a corner, dude? That's like, that's your jam, bro. Like,
The field is not for you.
yeah.
I still have a box of like old memorabilia stuff that I was going through not too long ago. The stuff that was in the attic, and I had some old saved rejection letters from major labels that I was reading through, and they're like, "You guys are on the right track. Send me your next,
Right.
blah blah blah. The congratulations, I'm sorry, letters." And it amazed me, and I just laugh and chuckle to myself. But that was actually, when you could, actually, get to people at labels and stuff
Right.
back then. I don't even know really what that's like nowadays.
That's not even necessary these days.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
labels pick you up after you've already accomplished something,
Right.
and they feel like they can take you and do
Go next level.
global. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's so. Like I said, it's turnkey, and I mean, they've struggled too. I mean, I'm not that I'm feeling totally sorry for them. They've made a lot of money,
Sure, yeah.
but the industry in general, the dynamic and the business model is completely different. Completely.
Well, also, what's gone is like the middle class that
Yeah.
we all lived in. Even if we were signed to a label,
Yeah.
we were still in a van. I don't know if you
yeah.
guys ever had a bus, but we only had a van.
Yeah, we had.
I always only toured in a van. I
Yeah,
never
me
got a
too.
bus.
Yeah, we were offered the bus tour, and we took the money and bought an RV.
Yeah.
So that was our way of going. Nah, we want to be out on the road longer than just whatever you guys are willing to put us out for. So here's a $50,000 tour budget or whatever it was, and like, nah, we're going to take that, buy an RV, and we're just going to go and tour as long as we can.
Which, if you think about it, that's a pretty smart approach. It's
Yeah.
kind of because
Instead of burning all
tour
your money
buses are
and going after-
expensive as
Oh, yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
you're paying for a driver in his room every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
ridiculous.
you're eating up like your account.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I got to ride on a bus a couple of times, and it was on an Indochine tour. We were opening for Bob Schneider, and he felt so sorry for me being in like this Suburban with those dudes that he was like, "Man, you want to crash on our bus?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
We got 8
just like
months.
in the
Come on.
front. No, I just slept in the
just
front
like in the
lounge.
front
Like,
lounge.
fuck it. It's like,
That's cool. Hey.
Yeah, it was great. But the thing is too is like when we came up, there was this sort of like you had to be good and prove yourself. Like you went and you played some ticket show on a Monday night at a place.
Steamboat or the
Steamboat
back room.
in the back room,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like one of those places.
Uh-huh.
You did your ticket thing, and then if you could bring in a good enough crowd because your music was good enough, or you had enough friends, or enough chicks liked you,
Yeah.
Right.
then you move on to the next step, and then finally, what you're aiming for is midnight on Friday or Saturday, right?
The headliner,
Yeah.
and then getting to open
Road
for
shows.
road shows.
Yeah.
Right,
that
exactly.
Was, and schmoozing with Jim Ramsey or or Danny at Steamboat. And,
Exactly.
Somebody, give me a break,
Yeah.
But if you bring in the numbers, you typically would get something offered to you,
Right. And there's also a thing like in the region that we came up in and in the time that we came up in, you had to play a long time. Like that, the goal was to end up playing 2 hours or longer.
Oh, right. Yeah, just your set length. Yeah.
Yeah, like those midnight
Oh,
shows,
dude,
you
Mission
played till
Crush would
fucking
play
2.
2 hours at Lucy's every time we played.
Yeah.
Every time. And
Were
those
you
shows
able
were-
to be prolific at that time as well?
Yeah. I mean, we were pretty much at that time. That band was very ate, slept, and drank music at that time.
Who else was in that band?
Chris Rasmussen, and it was 3 Chris's and 1 Will. And it's like basically Chris, and Will. And I mean, we did quite a bit in that band, and the shows were just crazy. Like Lucy's wasn't a big place, right? But it was so fun because every show was just crammed. You couldn't breathe practically.
Yeah.
There was so many people. And, our shows were kind of legendary for having girls that would do the, salute, whatever during one of our songs. But 2 of those guys are back in Indiana, and Will, our guitar player, lives on Maui. I just saw him recently. My wife and I went to Maui this past summer, and I got to hang out with him. It was really cool. So, but we did good because Laura Traylor was our manager at that time, and she had Angry House Management, and she did a whole lot for us. And once we parted ways with her, it fell onto the band. And it's really, really tough when you're wearing so many hats. When you're your own manager, your own publicist, your own social media manager, your own songwriter, your own producer. I mean, it's hella tough. It really is. So, as you grow, hopefully as your band does better, you're able to get a team together of folks, and as your family, as your team grows, so does your progress. So that's the pathway, I think, is to eventually get to the point where you have enough folks that you can either pay or believe in you to help you get, up to the next rung on the ladder or whatever.
Yeah. How, I was just about to say something about, back to this tracks thing. I remember seeing it for the first time in like 1998 when I was doing like a showcase at the Viper Room or whatever. And every band had one of those.
Was this the Gowdy?
Gowdy,
Okay.
yeah. Had one of those, but like an 8-track version of that Tascam thing or 4-track or whatever.
Right.
And so you'd be watching this band that's like standard issue 90s band, 2 guitar guys, bass guy, and a drummer. And you'd hear these keyboard parts and like a bunch of auxiliary percussion stuff. And I was like, what is that? And so finally, I talked to one of the bands. I'm like, oh yeah, bring this thing. And I was just like, dude, Milli Vanilli went to like
I know.
show business jail
it
for
was
this.
very much stigmatized back then.
Yeah,
Right.
for
I
sure.
was not a fan of it back then.
Me
for
neither.
Sure.
I wasn't either.
Everybody was
But
using the
you-
Tascams and the
Right, but you guys
ADATs.
didn't do that?
No, we used a live sampler, and
Yeah.
I just had to know my tempos.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would start songs, and then the tracks would, or the keyboards would have loops that would come in after the fact. So I just needed to know I've got to be right here.
Lay back,
and
buddy.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, we would play with other bands, and they would always be blown away. We'd play with like Stabbing Westward or
Right.
or bands like that had relied
did
on
ha- yeah,
relied
yeah.
on that. Gravity Kills relied on that stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And they would see us pull it off with be like,
Minimal.
how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's so many times that we play with Seven Dust or Zebra
Right.
Heads or whatever. I'm trying to think of there's so many drummers.
Right,
Other
right.
drummers have come up and go, dude, so wait a minute, what do you got going on here? How do you do this or whatever?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting time and a challenge.
Did you guys open for Stabbing Westward at Liberty Lunch? Like in the first...
Maybe.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, my
I remember seeing
I
them.
remember some of the bands that we played with, and some of the shows and the tours and whatnot. I don't remember a lot of the Austin ones for whatever
Right.
reason, but I remember the ones that were West Coast, East Coast, Chicago, et cetera, or whatever. But yeah, for some reason, I mean, I remember the Sports and Music Fest thing that we did.
Oh yeah,
for
I was
MTV.
there. I was at that.
But yeah,
What was that?
I got
we
my
played
first
Liberty Lunch
tattoo.
a bunch of times. But,
That was '97.
yeah, it was when they were starting to do
Think.
the Sports and Music Fest or whatever they
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
at
it was
Zilker.
Zilker. It was super fun. It was
So it was like big skate ramps,
Right,
and it
right,
was all
right.
the X Games stuff
Yeah,
before
yeah.
they were really the X Games, and then they just had bunch of bands, couple stages. I couldn't even tell you who else played on it.
I
but,
can't either. Isn't that funny?
it's,
All I remember is you guys. I know you guys
I
played.
feel like 311 maybe played.
Maybe, yeah.
That's a maybe.
I just wasn't that the one where like Jason. Well, so Jason would always climb up on something real high and then
Yeah.
jump off, right?
Yeah, he did it all the shows. So I mean,
But I think that was the one that they MTV ended up using that.
Oh,
shot
yeah.
on one of their.
gotcha.
It was
Right,
where he
right.
jumped off, and I guess people caught him. or
Probably,
whatever.
yeah.
What was the band that guy Joe sang for from Dallas? Jibe.
Oh, Jive.
Yeah. Deidre, I think Deidre did some shows with Jive. Actually, I think.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, we played with them a bunch of times.
He
in Dallas.
climbed on stuff, and there was a show that we got at Continental Club, and I lived here when I was a teenager, and I played Continental Club when I was like 16 and stuff. So I've known Steve more than half my life. Well enough for him to scream at me in front of everyone at Continental Club because we had them come down and open for us. And he was like not into the modern rock thing anyway. He was like a
Right.
little like, I don't know, this isn't really what I'm this. But there was people there and it was awesome. But then Joe started climbing on the PA and he came and grabbed me. It wasn't by the ear, but it might as well have been like, come here, look at this shit in my club.
Oh wow.
Told me I was never playing there again. It was great. It was like 100%.
That's funny.
Things were crazy back then, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are there any bands you guys go like? Are there any bands you're crazy about now?
Man, I'll be honest. I haven't. I mean, there's definitely bands that I like nationally. As far as locally, I mean, after I sold Red Eye in 2015, I
I miss that place.
kind of didn't really, do much. I mean, I still had, Eastern, but it was more of a dance,
Right.
DJ kind of hip hop kind of thing over there. And Dirty Dog I'd go to sporadically. So yeah, I mean, I have friends that I still knew that were still doing it, obviously, but as far as kind of the new stuff and whatnot, I just haven't gone to clubs that much. And obviously the last couple of years,
Yeah.
I mean, with freaking COVID. But we played with a lot of cool newer
Yeah,
bands.
I mean, I've had to
Swan
do
Dive
some
and,
research for bands just for booking, doing booking, and
Yeah.
I've stumbled on there's some great bands that out there. So there's a band called Go Fever. You
Oh,
may have
yeah.
Heard of them? They're
Yeah.
killer.
Oh, definitely. There's
I
lots
just
of
had
bands
them
that
on.
I'm saying that I
Blushing,
have gone
it's
to
really
see.
good.
Yeah, they're great.
They're
Yeah.
killer. A couple of young bands I saw at Far Out Lounge recently, Vision Arcade, and a band that Matt Parmenter turned us onto when we were recording,
yeah.
Sneaky
Peachy,
Peaches
yeah.
and the Fuzz.
Oh, who's
Yeah,
that?
they have a single that's got like almost 1 million streams on Spotify.
Wow.
But yeah, they're a real young band, but talented, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely some
Yeah.
great music out there. I don't want to say it's all great, but sometimes you run across some head scratchers. But yeah, there's some good stuff. I've seen a lot of really good stuff at Far Out Lounge. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, I dig that venue.
Yeah.
And it's I live close to there,
Oh, you
close
do?
to there. So yeah, we're like, off of towards the end of First Street. So we're not far from Aikens High School. So yeah, that Far Out's close. So it's kind of nice. I do the Armadillo Den or Moon Tower, and then
Yeah, there's a whole world
Far
down
Out
there.
Lounge.
Sagebrush.
It's really blown up.
Yeah.
Down there.
Far Out Lounge is great. That's one of the places that I went to during I went there in November of 2020 to see a show. It was weird and I left, but I
Yeah, when
went
we
there.
played there when it was Red Shed Tavern or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
We did like during South by, we did a show there one time, and the stage was cool, but they've really kind of transformed that place. It has a very cool vibe and built-in crowd, and it's cool.
Do you guys have any shows on the books coming up?
Right now, I don't have anything. We had something that we had to cancel. We were going to do. We were supposed to open for Suede, an outdoor gig at the Tangier Outlet Mall in San Marcos, but we had to cancel because we had one of our guys couldn't do it, and so we tried to find a sub, and it just didn't work out. So but right now, as of right now, it's open field. So anybody else out there want to book White Label Analog? We're available. So.
I think it's a great name. I don't know why you didn't like it.
I think at the time,
right?
So this is 2013.
I like
to be
saying
fair,
it.
this is a while ago, and I just thought it was really long. And I don't know why, because 50 Mission Crush is a long name too, but it's a really long name too. But for some reason, it just I don't know. It just sounded like a mouthful of words, but. I don't know. The more we talked about it, and I mean, it wasn't that long. I came around, and now I love it. So now I really dig it. So,
if anything, I probably kind of reverse course because I started pushing for WLA. I was just like, now I'm more like, it's too long. So WLA.
So now we say Walla Walla Walla.
Now I always get all these like Harley Davidson people because it's like WLA is like a '60s model of a motorcycle or something. So. I'll have these people like jump on like my Instagram thing or something like that and be like, and I'm like, you didn't even look at the picture, dude.
I don't have a Harley.
I don't. It's not talking about a hardtail here or anything.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Like we like the very end of 2013 is when we started writing and doing stuff, and
we've been through a lot of members.
Yeah, I've been through some member changes. We did the EP in 2015, some singles, here and there. We did the EP in 2015, the full length in 2016, and then we just were like, trying to solidify the band and
solidified the new lineup. Then single in 2018. Then had to revise the lineup. Then had to revise the lineup, and it's just kind of been a struggle just because every time, and that's I think after that one was that when we finally decided we're just putting it on tracks.
Yeah, I think it was really that really stemmed more around
to where it's like, okay, we can't keep looking for a new
situation.
keyboardist,
right?
And now we've got to look for a guitarist and a bass player. All right, let's just look for a guitarist and bass player. Let's put this on tracks, and because the keyboardists that we had were all, I mean, honestly. Either me or the original guitarist wrote all the keyboard parts anyway. So the keyboardists were never really bringing anything other than playing their parts.
Exception of Deb on the very first EP.
Exception of Deb, she did write.
Deborah Heaton, I don't know if you know her, but she's really gifted.
I was going to volunteer my
keyboardist
thing, but you guys are happy with your own.
Dude.
Got a melodica.
I'd love to have me some Johnny Gowdy and W. Are you kidding me?
Sitting down, falling asleep.
Oh, I promise you won't fall asleep. I'll keep you awake.
I'm in that band Skyrocket, and our one of our singers went to go see Styx this weekend. I was supposed to go, but I didn't, and I have a feeling he's going to be like, "Hey, man, you got to start jumping off your keyboard," because every time he sees a band with the keyboard player that stands up,
he's got that
the hunger. That's what I can remember. The hunger.
Exactly.
That's what, when he first described it. That was like, you mean like the guy from The Hunger?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying. I took my wife to see. It was at Coda. It was Styx. And Tesla and Def Leppard.
Oh,
it was a great show. It was really, really good.
You know Einar, who was in Gowdy, bald dude, works with AMF too. We've been playing together since
I guarantee
the 90s.
I've probably seen him. Maybe I've met him.
He played with Kelly Clarkson for a while. Became friends with some guy in the Def Leppard camp. Went to a Def Leppard show backstage. They don't like all those vocals are real and everything. Like those guys don't. Those guys are just playing.
Jeff Keith is still a hell of a singer for Tesla too.
Oh, really?
I was amazed at how good he still sounded. He still got it. Yeah, it's. You never know what to expect because I've seen some of those other throwback bands and it was like, ooh, that's not so good. Ooh.
It's like a Motley Crue is like the perfect example.
Right.
But no, that Jeff Keith is still singing his butt off, and
Yeah.
and Joe Elliott did a really really good job too. Now I think there may be a little more effects, than
Right,
maybe
sure,
there
sure.
used to
I
be.
heard a lot of
now.
people saying that about Duran Duran from
he was-
from ACL.
they were
that,
great.
Simon
A&R
Vaughn
stage
was-
managed,
Yeah,
stage managed that show,
They were
and
great.
I heard that the vocals were
unbelievable.
phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
it was so good. It was so good. And I love going to, when we saw, no, you weren't there, but when we saw Guns N' Roses, what was it, 2019 or whatever,
Oh wow,
they were good.
Really?
They were really good. Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. I've always been the kind of like person or music fan that when I go see a live show, I really liked, I don't want to hear, it doesn't have to be the record, but it needs to be enough of a semblance of the song
Yeah.
to get into it. Like
Yeah.
the grooves needs to be there. Hopefully the vocals are in key
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
essential
Yeah, yeah.
aspects,
Yeah,
foundational
yeah.
aspects, right?
Yeah.
And man, there's been some shows that, like, I would always get so frustrated when I went to a Smashing Pumpkins show because Jimmy Chamberlain would play everything like
fast.
super duper
Yeah.
fast, like double speed. I'm like, that doesn't even sound like 1979.
Right.
It sounds like
Yeah.
some other song,
rewrite
So
the
I-
melodies and stuff. Yeah,
or seeing a band like Incubus back in the day, and they just delivered.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love seeing a band that can pull it off live.
Yeah.
And I think that's really kind of been our mantra. We don't ever want to be a band that relies so heavily on tracks that
Right,
we
right.
can't still perform and,
Right.
and
Right.
sound like a real band.
Right.
That's
we can go do an acoustic show or whatever, or
Right.
stripped down version. But when we're putting on stage, we prefer to, we want to give it everything, and show off all that studio magic.
Yeah.
Like I said, but yeah, I mean, we can do a stripped down version. We did it for. There's some video out there of us at Eastsiders just doing a way stripped down version.
Yeah.
Of a lot
Eastsiders
of our material.
Collaboratory or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we usually tell the sound guy, treat the samples as like another member.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be
Buried.
the
Focal point,
the focal
but-
point.
Right,
But
right.
it should be like
Yeah.
a guitar player or a bass player or a
Right.
drummer.
Yeah.
It's
Present.
an integral part of the music, but it's not the focal point.
Right.
Like I remember, I think the first time I saw Churches at ACL Fest, and I was
yeah.
like, it's dudes with computers and keyboards and then the singers up there, and they sounded great. I'm not knocking that,
But you're not-
But if you would have been doing that back in the day, you'd have been booed off the stage. It'd be, you're Milli Vanilli,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nowadays I think younger audiences are very accepting and
Sure.
actually, I mean, think of how big DJ shows are
Yeah.
now. I mean, EDM stuff. It's just some dude with a bunch of electronics,
Right.
and a crazy cool lights, and and people love it and enjoy it. And so I think that stigma is long gone.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's very long gone. It's antiquated for me to think that. I just had JY from Styx on the show, and I watched a bunch of their shit from this. These guys are really like. They also just put out a new record. Sounds exactly like Styx. It's fucking weird.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
it sounds like a Styx.
Like I said, hey,
Yeah.
Styx would have done this.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
crazy.
Still a band, man. Still doing it.
Just because you get older in life doesn't mean you enjoy music any less, playing music, writing music, recording music any less. I think some artists, maybe, I don't know, for some reason they maybe get caught up in their own world. They've were really super huge and famous and,
Right.
and made a lot of money.
Right.
And so that passion maybe is gone. So maybe the music isn't quite as sincere or
Right.
hungry
Right.
as it used to be. But every once in a while you come across something that's like a really like a delightful surprise.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that. It's really cool.
A guy like Paul McCartney makes me think of that. Like, he's always kind of doing whatever, wherever the wind's taking him. He's
Yeah.
just going with the thing and doing, if it's working with Kanye or by himself, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's neat. And I think that's another thing that like nowadays, like artists today very much rely on collaboration.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like, and that is powerful.
Yeah.
A very powerful thing. So it's cool to see.
It's funny. It took a long time for rock to kind of come around to that, because
Yeah.
it seemed like that was happening so prevalently in the 90s,
Hip-hop,
like with
right.
art,
Doing
with
it for a
hip hop
long
and
time.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
right.
Yeah.
we heard about Snoop Dogg because of the Chronic. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Exactly.
Or Aerosmith and Run DMC or whatever.
exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a trip. That's the thing is it's music is cyclical in some respects, like you were talking about earlier, where like some of the '80s influences, come back from our past, kind of creep into the music a little bit. So music is cyclical, but it's never the same when it comes back. It's got
a little different.
It's a little different, right?
Yeah.
And that's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So,
well, you guys, this feeling, it's a great song. And I want to go see you guys live. It's really good to see you, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Good
Great
to
to
see
see
both
see
of
you
you
too. I
guys.
know it's nice
Yeah.
to see you and actually have a conversation with you
Yeah.
than just, hey, dude, how's it going?
Yeah.
Oh, great, man. You doing good? Good. All right.
Or
I'll
the
check-
band's
I'll catch
loud
you
or
later.
something. Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
One more thing before you guys go.
Yes, sir.
Have you guys noticed that since COVID came back, like people don't start at 12 anymore? Or since we've come back from COVID, like
Nobody wants to play at midnight.
nobody wants to go anywhere at midnight.
No.
Nobody. Well,
I think it was
not
funny. I was
safe.
talking to somebody about this the other day, and I felt like it was kind of heading that way prior. I was talking to Mike Boudreau, and we were chatting about it. Mike worked for me over at Red Eye back in the room days, but we were talking about it. And I remember towards right before I sold Red Eye, it started to get to a point where it was getting tough to book that midnight band that was going to carry you, till 1:30 or whatever, close at 2. And it just kept getting harder and harder. Bands didn't want to play that late. And then we slowly started to see to where we couldn't find people to play that late. And it seemed like the crowds more so wanted to kind of go out a little bit earlier, and then they wanted to go to a dance club.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of seemed to kind of keep getting momentum.
Yeah.
And that to me seems like what downtown is, more so than anything is, if they can get in and get out from a show by 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's awesome. And then they're off. Okay, now I want to go club hop and dance
Do some
and
shots.
exactly.
Yeah.
And do that kind of thing for the rest of the night, or call it early and, get out of downtown before it gets too crazy and traffic is a pain in the butt or somebody gets shot.
it's weird too because we've done some one-off shows in Boston and we did the CM College Music Week in Toronto, Canada, and it depends. Sometimes you have some spots where maybe it's the city, maybe it's the particular town you're in, where that's the thing, right? Like that's where everybody goes, and even I know we played in, was it Lubbock or something? It's a really late crowd, really bizarre.
Yeah,
You're you're expecting nobody to be there, or
and then all of a sudden everybody flows in at 11 o'clock
exactly,
or whatever.
It's
like
710 Beach Club in San Diego, something like something like that. Where it's just you're like, where the the Gracie O'Malley's in Boston? It's where are all these people? And then all of a sudden, pow! Where'd they come from?
Yeah.
But I think by and large, at least in Austin, it's typical.
Cities are different for sure. 'Cause
Yeah.
there are some places where it doesn't come alive until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And Austin does not have quite that kind of, at least live music wise, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's gotten accustomed to the festivals and shows and outdoor
Things shutting down around 10 or 11 or whatever.
Around 10 or
Yeah.
11, noise ordinance. All right, so this is where we go see music now. We go and do the 8 to 10 o'clocks.
Yeah.
Which sucks if you're a venue owner, I guess,
Right.
because you're counting on those bar sales,
Yeah.
those late night bar sales. But I mean, there's plenty of places to drink, but there are. But I think the kind of the saddest part of it's already hard enough being a live music venue owner, and it's having close friends that were venue owners. But then you throw in the pandemic on top of that, and it really, every time I saw a new restaurant or I saw a restaurant or a live music venue that was shutting down, it really bummed me out, man. And I just, I hope that at some point we can get back to, I don't know that we'll ever be the normal that we were pre-pandemic, but I hope we get to back to, I think it's, inching that way, but I hope we get back to some sense of, what we considered normalcy.
Right. Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, dudes, man, we survived the 90s.
Exactly.
The aughts.
I bet if Steamboat was still open, I would do this podcast downstairs.
That'd be
Probably,
fun.
yeah.
That'd be fun.
or start it. And never gotten back to it. Well, it's great to see you guys, man. This single is great. People can find you guys. You guys have a website?
We do. WhiteLabelAnalog.com.
That's easy.
We're easy to find. You can Google us. We're
Google
on
White Label Analog,
Spotify, on all the
it'll
streaming
send you everywhere.
services.
Yeah.
We're out there, real easy.
Feeling
Find
it.
us.
That's the latest single.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks so
guys.
much, John.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
guys. That's Heath McIntosh and Chris Didier from the band White Label Analog. Wasn't that a great conversation? It was great talking to them, man. Get their new single, Feeling It, wherever it is you stream and download jams, and follow them on all the social media things. You'll find links to them in the text of this podcast. Also, don't forget, when you're out there checking out White Label Analog, you gotta subscribe to this podcast wherever it is you listen to podcasts, be it Apple Podcast, TuneIn, Overcast, Spotify, Stitcher. You listen to Spotify. If you're listening to Spotify all the time, just find us on there. Listen to us. Put the little heart there. Follow us. You'll be alerted whenever there's a new show. We got new shows all the time. I'm thinking about dropping 3 next week for Christmas week because people are traveling or not traveling. They're stuck at home. Yeah, it's going to be 2 new ones and a From the Vault. So look forward to that. Really good ones, man. I'm going to be talking to the guys from... look, I'll just give it away. Normally, I don't announce what I'm going to talk about, but I just put them out. Maybe I should do a little of that these days. I'll be talking to the guys from Esther's Follies here in Austin. You probably walk by it a million times on 6th Street, and you're like, what the hell is that? What's going on in there? Why are these people performing on a stage, and there's the whole audience looking out onto the street? It's Esther's Follies, man. It's a great time. It's been around for a long time. Those dudes will be on here. I'll also be talking to the amazing Quentin Arispe. Yeah, baby. Look for that, man, all next week. Gang, check out Feeling It by White Label Analog. Have a great weekend. Do your Christmas shopping. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And let's get down.
You keep on testing me, I keep on guessing. We're making some progress and learning life lessons. How many times would you like me to say to you?